Retired Navy SEAL David Goggins.
Dave Goggins, retired Navy SEAL himself.
David Goggins, a Navy SEAL.
One of the toughest men on the planet.
The hardest motherfucker on planet Earth.
He's just an absolute savage.
The only man in history to complete elite training as a Navy SEAL.
U.S. Army Ranger School and the Air Force Tactical Air Controller Training.
An ultramarathon runner, a triathlete.
Running 101 miles in 19 hours.
He's got world records in pull-ups.
For 4,030 pull-ups in just 17 hours.
If anybody knows about pain, it's David Goggins.
Can you find your balls? Your dehydration? Fuck it. Lick your motherfucking lips. Get it. 19. On me, son. Yeah, that's what every fucking looks like. Right, they always hit. Motherfucking nice cream pie. Stay hard. Fighting against crime. We're never full early in the morning. Stay hard. Hey, hang on a second, Goggins. What got you here? I was that guy who ran away from absolutely everything that got in front of me. We lived on Paradise Road, and it was anything but fucking paradise. My dad owned skating rinks, he owned bars, he ran prostitutes from Canada to Buffalo, New York. He set fire to a lot of his buildings, you know.
To collect insurance?
To collect insurance. So from the time I was able to walk, I was working that skating rink. And I worked it from like 9 o'clock at night until like 12 o'clock in the morning pretty much. After all that shit was done with, going to school rarely happened. So we had two different sides. It was the side that everybody saw, which was the side of, this man, your dad is so damn cool, man. He's awesome. But no one knew what was going on in that house on 201 Paradise Road. The second that door was shut in that house, it was game on. The real him would come out and beat the shit out of me, beat the shit out, out of my mom. He was a drunk.
Okay.
So whenever he woke up, man, he woke up drinking, went to bed drinking, and that's just how it was. And when he get drunk, he just got violent. It was brutal. It was very sadistic the way she was tortured by him and the way my brother and myself were, and that broke me and my brother up.
We weren't a family. We were a unit. Yeah. Okay, we were a machine. We were there. We were employees. We worked. We did what we had to do.
When my brother would see the fighting, he would go to his room and hide.
Yeah.
I didn't do that. I always stuck around. There was an incident one time when my mom got knocked out on top of the stairs and he dragged her down the stairs by her hair. So I go on the stairs and I jump on his back and literally he tells my mom, "You're raising a gangster," as she's like on the floor. And don't know if it was on purpose or accident. He beat me with the belt buckle. So the next morning, I was gonna go to school half the day. My mom woke up and she pulled the covers back and she looks at my body from the beating. She didn't know how bad it was. I was black and blue from my neck down to my ankles. I'll never forget looking at her face. And her face is tattooed in my brain. The look on your mom's face when you see your shit that fucked up, it haunts you. And maybe 2 days later, my mom's in the living room while my dad's in the kitchen talking to one of his girls.
My mom comes into the kitchen,
and she said, "You guys can come, or you guys can stay, but I'm getting the fuck out of here."
Like, where are we going? Because we're out of here. We're gone.
And I got my shit and I packed. I was gone quick. My brother was kind of like, "What should I do?"
It was almost like an evacuation. We had to pack whatever we could get, do whatever we could, take whatever we could, whatever could fit in a Volvo, and leave. If my mom didn't leave, I strongly believe that I would be visiting my mother in prison.
We moved to a small town in Brazil, Indiana, and that's when the real war started for me. There was about maybe 10 black families at about 10,000 people in the town. And in 1995, the KKK marched in the 4th of July parade. I got called nigger every day of my life growing up. One of the high-ups in the KKK, son, sat behind me in 2 classes, so he called me nigger all the time. One time in my Spanish class, we had all of our notebooks that stayed in the class. And I'll never forget opening my Spanish notebook, and on it was a noose, like a little hangman noose, with me hanging from it. And they had written, "Nigger, we're gonna kill you." And I took it to my principal, and I wasn't a good speller at all. And the best advice he can give me, God help his soul, was this: they're ignorant. they spelled nigger Niger. I didn't know how to spell a nigger, you know what I'm saying? They spelled nigger Niger. So long story short, what I realized was no one was here to help me.
Except for your mom.
Yes, my mom, big time carer, but she was
busy.
She was gone working 3 jobs. We lived in a $7 a month place for a lot of the time. And then her soon to be, they were gonna get married the next month. The day after Christmas, my mom's soon to be my soon to be stepdad got murdered. And so I got away with a lot of shit because her mind was occupied. I missed almost all of my junior year of high school, never went to school, just did my own thing. At this time, I made up a character to kind of like draw attention from color. I was making different hairstyles and sagging my pants, and one haircut I had was the old man. And I shaved my head up here just like this.
You did this?
I did this. You know how old men had the hair like leaving their head?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went to school with hair on the side of my head and in my back. My head pants sagging but backwards. So my back pockets were here. I had a toothbrush. I was crazy, man. So I was always under this like tight neck, tension fucking guy. But I walked around like I'm some cool, here's my new hairstyle, pants are sagging. I'm a cool dude, man.
Right.
But that was
Putting
not
on that
me.
costume.
The costume wore every day.
Yeah.
Got tired of wearing that motherfucker, man.
Above the Virginia countryside, PJ Scott Guerin makes his 90th jump. Another team member, still in free fall and unable to maneuver, plunges through Guerin's chute. Guerin falls for 3,000 feet and hits the earth at over 100 miles an hour.
I was pretty badly injured. The guys got to me as quickly as they could and got me to the hospital, put an airway into my throat so I could breathe.
And I met him a couple years later at this CAP, Civil Air Patrol camp. I'm sitting, he comes out. I was like, my God, he came out talking all like Clint Eastwood and he shared the story and he's all hardcore and he did push-ups and flutter kicks and all. I was like, man, that is the real Rambo. I started following this guy, but he didn't know I was following him. I went on a $500 phone bill. And back then, dude, and having no money, my mom wanted to kill me. I was in search of Scott Guerin. Calling up Air Force bases, man. Hey, do you know what Scott Guerin? What do you mean? I'm like, who's Scott Guerin? I'm like, he's a pararescue man. A what? Because, a pararescue man, there's not a lot of them. So I started tracking down pararescue bases. Finally, he's a scuba instructor down there in Key West, Florida. I leave a message. He calls back, gets a hold of my mom. I'm like, I cannot believe this guy called me back. My first question to him was, hey, man, can I come stay with you for a week? He's like, who the fuck are you, man? He didn't know who the fuck I was. Right. The guy let me come stay with him for a week. I would go to school or to scuba school with him. He would instruct. I'd sit on the couch for 10 hours. Sit in the lounge on the fucking couch for 10 hours. He'd come back, pick me up, we go for a run, he'd go home. We ate fish every fucking day because we had to go out in the ocean, like I would go lobster hunting. I hate the fucking water, I was scared to death, but this guy went in, so I'm going in. And I left there with just one big thing. That's what I want to be. I want to be a guy like that. So I said I'm going to join the Air Force and be Air Force pararescueman. People that jump out of airplanes and save down pilots or rescue people. The guy gave me an ASVAB test. It's like a watered down SAT. And I couldn't copy on it because the guy beside me had a test A, I had test B. The guy on my right had test C. So I looked to copy on this test and I couldn't copy on it, so I got like a 20. When you cheat your whole life in high school and elementary school, I had about a 4th grade reading level. So this is when I developed my accountability mirror. When you look in the mirror, that's the one person you can't lie to. In this mirror, it wasn't my mom, it wasn't Principal Freeman, it wasn't my dad, it was me. And so with my non-spelling ass, I started getting these sticky notes. Wow. And writing, you're fucked up. And my mom wakes up like, what is wrong with you? I go, man, I have to change because I can't stay here. My mom afforded enough money for me to go to see a tutor 1 hour a week. And that's when I really developed my work ethic. I had to study for hours. What might take you an hour to learn, take me 2 days. Wow. So that's where, at the table. And my best friend Johnny remembers me like, God, you just changed. Something happened. I got obsessed. So I take the test, I score high, I get in the Air Force. And that's when I'm like, man, I'm gonna be a pararescueman. I got in the Air Force and realized there was more things in front of me. I was afraid of the water, terrified of the water. And I learned how to swim, but But what gets everybody in this training, in all special ops training, is the water confidence, where they try to pretty much drown your ass.
First, we'll tie their feet, then we tie their hands, then we tie both feet and hands and ask them to perform a series of tasks in the water, such as bobbing, floating, traveling, mask retrieval, and flips.
And this is when I realized why a lot of blacks are not in special operations.
You sink.
I sink like a motherfucker. I was getting through all the water confidence, but barely. But I wanted to quit every fucking night. I didn't go to sleep every night. Just paranoid of the next day of getting back in that pool. And 6 weeks into the program, the doctor gave me a blood test and realized I have sickle cell. Basically, you know, if something happens under stressful situations, stroke, heart attack, sudden death. So they put me out training for a week, and when you go from being very uncomfortable in that water situation, I'm on the side of the pool, I'm not in the water now, I'm seeing what I was doing. I'm seeing these guys struggling, panicking in the water, like wanting to quit. I'm like, fuck that. The fear overcame me, and all my insecurities from my dad, from this small town, from everything started coming back. So I'm not getting happy, because now I'm like, I won't quit. They're gonna medically drop me from the course. This is great. A week went by, the doc called me back up. He goes, man, you know what? You were doing good in your class, and we don't really know, we don't know how you got this far with this, whatever, so guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna put you back in the training. I'm like, fuck. And the sergeant said, hey, you gotta start from day one. Because I'm at critical parts of training. I can't miss that many days. I had to find a way out of this. I cannot start back from day one, but I don't wanna quit. And I said, man, the sickle cell thing is really scaring me. I didn't give a fuck about sickle cell. It was the fucking water, it wasn't sickle cell. And I bet he could see in my eyes that I was basically quitting. He knew I was quitting. He just gave me a medical. That motherfucker knew it. As a man looking at another man, you know when the man's done. So from the age of 19 to the age of 22, I did a job called TAC-P. The best job is in the military, but I'm all poopy past now, 'cause I'm not a pararescueman. So I'm thinking TAC-P some weak ass motherfuckers. And I started finding things that was comfortable. And the more things I found comfortable, the more uncomfortable my mind was. So I got out of the Air Force, and I gained 125 pounds in that time frame. I went from 175 to almost 300. But I really didn't know how fat I was. I didn't really want to look at myself. And I started working for a job called Ecolab, where you spray for cockroaches. Making $1,000 a month. Spraying at different Steak and Shakes, Red Lobster, whatever, from 11 o'clock at night to 7 o'clock in the morning. I would spray down Steak and Shake as my last spray down. I knew the manager real well, and he would make this special shake for me, man, with a chocolate, a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of straw. You know, when you're depressed, you like to eat and drink shakes and whatever. I had a 45-minute commute home in my car, and I stopped by 7-Eleven, get a box of mini chocolate donuts, and I would eat those and drink the shake and go home. But I was haunted. These demons were in my head every day, man. You ain't shit, man. God, dog, man. You wear this fucking uniform, you get in your fucking Ecolab truck, you go spray for cockroaches, you fucking go in the kitchens, you eat your fucking brownies and shit in the back kitchen, you make shakes and shit while you're in there, man. I was like, fuck, man. So at this time, my routine was to come home, turn the TV on, walk back to the shower, listen to the TV while I was taking a shower. And what changed, I came home and watched this Discovery Channel show, Class 224. I'm hearing Navy SEAL.
The most elite team in the world, the United States Navy SEALs.
So, you know, I try to be a pararescue, so I want to see what the fuck they're talking about. So I come on and watch this documentary. I was watching these guys going through Hell Week. And I see nothing but this jackhammer. Guys, snot bubbles and just rolling around, sugar cookies, and in and out of the surf. And carrying these boats and logs. I'm like, fuck that, man. That shit looks evil. And these guys are ringing the bell, quitting, dropping their helmet down, rolling out. A lot of guys just leaving. And I saw real men, what I thought were real men who were staying. And it goes down to 22 guys are left. This commanding officer stood up and he said to the graduation, guys who are graduating buds. He's looking hard, and his speech was amazing. He goes,
in a society where mediocrity is too often the standard and too often rewarded, there is intense fascination with men who detest mediocrity, who refuse to define themselves in conventional terms, and who seek to transcend traditionally recognized human capabilities. This is exactly the type of person Buds is meant to find. The man who will find a way to complete each and every task to the best of his ability. The man who will adapt and overcome any and all obstacles.
And I felt so small. I felt like I was what everybody said I was, nobody. And I had two options: to either be that 300-pound guy who sprayed for cockroaches and made $1,000 a month at 24 years old, knowing when I'm 50 fucking years old, I can reflect on this and think about what guy I never became, or I can totally just sack it up and fail and fail and fail until I succeed. I wanted to be a man that detests mediocrity. What if I can be a SEAL, man? And I was like, man, I literally at 297, I just started calling up different recruiters. And when you're 297 pounds, and you have prior service, man, recruiters laugh at your ass, dude. So I tried to get in the reserves. And I called this guy named Steven Salgio, recruiter, up. And he said, hey, come on in. I walk in the office, he looks at me, and he's the first recruiter that said, you know what? Damn, you're a big fucking dude, man. You wanna be a SEAL? I said, yeah, but he didn't give me the look of like, you can't do it. He weighed me, I weighed 106 pounds overweight. He went through his little chart, started writing all this shit down. And he said, there's a program that's about to end that you can go, and if you make it through BUD/S, you'll then go active duty, right, and you'll be a SEAL. If not, you come the fuck home. You got a lofty task ahead of you. I go, why? He goes, well, to get into the class I had to get into, I had to lose 106 pounds in less than 3 months. So I pretty much said, fuck this. This pretty much can't work for me, man. This is impossible. I grabbed my chocolate milkshake and went back to Ecolab. I'm going back to work, man. Went back to work. A bad day happened. I hit the mother load of cockroaches, rodents and everything. And I go out to the dumpster and these animals, I was like, fuck, I'm done. This ain't gonna be it for me. So in that restaurant, I quit my job and I went home. And now I'm like, okay, here we go. It's time to be a Navy SEAL. I get my shoes on and I run a quarter mile. Come home crying. I started realizing I can't run that far. Right. So what I did was I became damn near a professional cyclist with the miles I put on the bike. I developed a psychotic weight routine. I was just doing 200, 300 reps, 400 reps on like chest, just like for one simple exercise. And I spent hours in the pool, trying to get more and more comfortable. Not because I was going underwater, I was so scared of the water that I had to live in the water versus just saying, like I used to, I'm just not good enough. If I'm not good enough, we always say that shit. I'm just not good enough, and then we try something else. I'm gonna fucking make myself good enough. I put my whole life, and I'm gonna go out here and put everything on David fucking Goggins to be a Navy SEAL. I started callousing my mind at this point in my life. And I lost the weight. And I went back to recruiter. I got into that class. I'm in SEAL training now. Amazing. The war now can begin. So Hell Week is 130 hours of continuous training. You might get 2 hours of sleep. This is the promised land of mental hardening. It's designed to break a man. And this is like the biggest crucible in Navy SEAL, it probably in all of Special Forces. I was in 3 Hell Weeks in 1 year. Only person to ever do that in SEAL history. My first time going through BUD/S. I got to a couple days in the Hell Week and bam, fucked up shin splints, stress fractures, double pneumonia. So I get rolled back to day 1, week 1. Second time going through BUD/S, I got all the way through Hell Week, was getting ready to start up in second phase. Broke my knee. My kneecap is going in and out, and I'm like, fucking so. I couldn't keep up with the class, got rolled back to day 1, week 1. They gave me my third time, was my last time going through Hell Week, because I wasn't supposed to come back for a third time. Okay. Like this is like inhumane. So my first Hell Week was in March, and my third Hell Week was the March the next year. Stress fractures don't heal that quick, man. Especially when you beat them up. So in my third Hell Week, we had a guy die on Thursday from pulmonary edema. As you know, San Diego gets fucking cold. And it rained the whole time. The whole time it just rained, and he drowned in his own fluid pretty much. We were in the pool doing some evolution. He sunk to the bottom, and he ended up dying in Hell Week. But Hell Week ended on Thursday morning because he died. Okay. So in about 30 hours early. And now we're in Walk Week. And Walk Week is when you're basically just walking around to heal up your body. And our Walk Week ended early because the instructors were pissed off. A guy dies. Yeah. And now I'm getting my ass kicked because now the instructors are mad that our class didn't complete a full Hell Week, and like they were like getting a pass. My legs were broken. I'm sitting thinking, how the fuck now there's no Walk Week, I can't heal. But I'm like, I can't quit. This is my last time going through. I can't get rolled. So I wasn't gonna leave until I graduated. So I started realizing if this is my home, this is what I am, I had to always reset the bar. So my idea was this. I would put the black sock on and then duct tape my foot all the way up to the top of my, or to the mid of my ankle, or to the mid of my calf. So that tape would just dig in there. And so when you move that part of your ankle, that starts to develop a nice sore. So I ran pretty much for the first 45 minutes, the most excruciating pain of my life. God. But then guess what happens? My feet would go numb. And when they go numb, you don't feel this shit anymore. So I went through buds like this. And I did that every single day for 6 months. I love God, but for a short period of time, I became the devil, because that was hell. I became the boss, the owner, the CEO of Navy SEAL training. That was my mindset. And I started realizing through this process that the fucking mind is what you created. And I graduated August 10th, 2001.
It now appears that 17 American soldiers were lost when their helicopter was shot down by enemy fire. The Chinook helicopter was carrying 17 members of a special operations unit into a operation against Al-Qaeda and Taliban fighters in the rugged mountains near the border with Pakistan, when a second helicopter reported seeing an explosion.
Being that I went through, I was in 3 Hell Weeks, I knew a lot of the guys. I knew every guy that died on the operation. Danny Dietz was in one of my bus classes. Michael Murphy was in one of my bus classes. Axelson, I actually trained him out at Nyland. And I was at free fall school during the incident with Morgan Luttrell, Mark Luttrell's twin brother. Marcus Luttrell, if you guys don't know, was the lone survivor, the guy. He was the only Navy SEAL that lived. So a few months later, it was still haunting me a little bit, and I go on to want to raise money for families. All these guys died, they all had kids. And so I found a great foundation, Special Operations Warrior Foundation. Right. Guys in special ops who died, this foundation gives full tuition for their kids to go to college. And the only way for me to raise money, I could do it, different ways, like car washes or whatever, but people respond to people suffering. So I said, you know what? I have to Google something that's evil, something very hard. I knew nothing about ultramarathons. I hadn't even run a marathon. At this time, I went from 191 when I graduated BUD/S. I'm about 250 now. I was a SEAL, but I was like a bodybuilder. And my cardiovascular activity was the elliptical trainer for 20 minutes every Sunday. So I Googled the top 10 hardest races in the world. And so what came up was the Badwater 135. It's 120 to 130 degrees, 135 miles across the hottest spot in the world. But it didn't describe that it was like a couple day race. I thought it was a race where you run like 20 miles, set up camp, barbecue outside, and then go run some more the next day. So I ended up calling Chris Kosman up. Chris Kosman is the race director of Badwater. He goes, have you run 100 miles in 24 hours or less? I was like, no. 20 miles was my longest run ever. He goes, well, to get my race, you have to do a 100-mile race. And you got to do 100 miles in 24 hours or less. And he goes, there's a race on Saturday in San Diego one day, where you run around a 1-mile track for 24 hours. So many miles you can get. If you get 100 in 24 hours, I will consider you in my race. So I'm like, fuck it, man, this guy's kind of calling me out. I'm gonna get this shit done. I'm a SEAL, I'm a badass. So, show up at the start line of this race. I'm out on this track with a blue lawn chair, Mileplex, and Ritz crackers. I start running, and I get to about mile 40, mile 50, and I'm feeling pretty good. I got to mile 70, and buddy, it was the worst pain of my life. I sit down and everything falls the fuck apart. I literally start to turn white. And I looked at my ex-wife now, and I was like, I am fucked. And I started seeing like 3 of her. And I literally had to go to the bathroom so bad. I hadn't gone to the bathroom in 12 hours. And the bathroom was like 20 feet from me. It's a porta potty. I can't get out of the fucking chair. I basically sat there and took a shit on myself, started peeing blood, and I got 30 fucking miles to go. With blood down my leg and 30 miles to go, I started reaching the cookie jars, man. So my cookie jars, the things I've accomplished, failed at, didn't fail at, just kept on grinding through. I was in 3 Hell Weeks. I endured being called nigger. I saw these beatings. My mom's soon-to-be husband got murdered. All these things I endured alone. I had to remind myself of the strength and the power that I have, that it's in me. So I take this 1 second, I calm down, so I realized, okay, man, I had to take this big pile of shit and slowly start to compartmentalize what was in front of me. And the first thing was, you can't stand up. Your blood pressure's messed up, so you can't go another 30 miles just to be able to stand up. Fix that. Now let's see if you can walk a mile. So I walked a mile. Let's see if you can walk 2 miles. Walk 2 miles. And what happened was, my ex-wife looked at me and she's like, man, we agreed I'm not gonna make the time. I was going way too slow. And at that time, at mile 81, something clicked. And what I believe happened to me is when my mind, body, spirit, everything really connected. And my mind knew I wasn't fucking around anymore. It knew I wasn't gonna quit. It knew that guy was dead and buried and gone. And I was gonna die out here on this fucking 1 mile. For whatever reason why, I was gonna get through this motherfucker. And the second she said that I'm not gonna make the time, I ran the last 19 miles, nonstop. And I did 101 miles in 18 hours and 56 minutes. And I literally, it just was over. I was in the worst shape of my life. And my wife she was a nurse, and she was freaked out. I got home, and I'm in this tub, and I'm jackhammering, and I had this hot water hitting me, and I'm literally in the worst pain. My shins, my feet, I'm broken. And it looked like dirt was coming out of my penis. This looked horrible, just the grossest thing in the world. She calls my mom up. My mom has a doctor friend. The doctor friend says, you gotta get him to the hospital. His kidneys are shutting down. This is going on, this is going on. He could die. So she said, I'm taking you to the doctor. I said, no, let me sit here and enjoy this pain. She said, what are you talking about? All this pain going through me was confirmation that I had just done something that I thought was humanly impossible. I didn't want people to give me drugs and to numb this fucking pain. I did this. This young kid that came from shit, that wasn't shit, that lied and cheated I was now the truth. I was a Navy SEAL. I went through all this shit. I was truth. There was no more lie. And I qualified for Badwater and got in. And trained hard, and I got 5th my first year and went back my second year and got 3rd.
This morning, David has moved into our studio as he attempts to break the Guinness World Record for the most pull-ups in a 24-hour period. The current mark in the new Guinness World Records 2013 edition that's out, 4,020 is the number.
So I did 2,588 or some shit like that. Ripped the shit out of my forearm. Failed miserably in front of millions of people. 2 months later, November, tried again, failed again. I had done I think I did 3,000 pull-ups. And they're like, man, your body is wrecked up. There's a picture of my hand, and it's a 3rd-degree burn. So that's my hand.
Oh, Jesus, man.
When I was a kid, I'd come home every day, and I'd watch this fucking show, Rocky. And I would fast forward with the little VHS tapes to round 14. In that round, when Rocky gets knocked down, and Mickey's saying, stay down, stay down, Apollo Creed knows I was fucking this dude up. Like I finally knocked down this animal. Apollo Creed raised his arms up in the fucking air, turned around, thought he won the fight. He turns around and sees this guy getting up. Apollo shakes his head, and Rocky has his gloves and emotions towards Apollo. Come on, motherfucker, I'm still here. And it was the face of Apollo Creed that changed my life. It said, this motherfucker is gonna keep coming after whatever the fuck is in front of him. I wanted that. I didn't want to win. I still don't want to win for some reason. I just want to go the distance. I wanted to feel something besides defeat. But I was failing so many times at this record, I had to go to that place. 2 months later, in January 19th, when I did the pull-up record, I listened to one song for 17 hours, and it was going the distance. Did 4,030 in 17 hours. I finally fucking got it. I used to believe I was the weakest man that God ever created. So now I believe that I'm the hardest human being that God ever made. I don't care if it's true or not. It's the most important conversation to me. It's the thing that drives me every day. It's the one thing that keeps me going every day is that you must constantly be that man that you want to be.